You seem bothered by something.
How did we get here?
A CDMP TV and film presentation from Crazy D, the mind who brings you the Black Ice Chronicles, the Females DVD, and Situations DVD, brings you The Shifter. It's Halloween night at Crazy D's, and a pesky vamp is out for blood. Beware of the Shifter.
That's it. You gotta go beat it damn scram, man. Damn.
Why don't you be a doll and find me a place to change? I need a place to change my clothes before I go.
What? Don't try to hold me on the phone.
D, you been holding out on me?
I was just about to stop and help. You know I helped the crackheads, D.
Some people just don't have originality with their outfits.
It's like I hear voices in my head talking to me and shit.
I saw that punk ass Charles Pippen and his cousin leaving here.
I learned the grace pose. Get your camera ready.
We're here, like we said, for trick or treat. Crazy, what did you see? You seem bothered by something.
You see that shit?
Yeah, that crazy fuck in there.
Oh, what the fuck that was for? Right.
Shit.
Can't stand that shit.
Well, who's the pet bitch?
Like, I
what
don't
the fuck? What the fuck was she need all hoes? I saw her to scratch that, poke that bitch out.
Beware of the Shifter. Be at the premiere if you dare.
Are you gonna listen to the move?
I've been out the loop since '09.
Yeah, I'll be back to get at that though. Check this. I'm at the motherfucking house last night. Guess what the fuck I see?
What you see?
Shamika, what's up?
Fuck you think you fucking with? It's Maxwell, bitch.
Fuck you in them shoes.
Bitch, I'm about to stalk you with these shoes.
I thought I told you to get a jump to Crazy D.
I did give it to Crazy D. You know, D, you must have seen money in that. You know, he used to produce those nudie DVDs.
Fuck you, thin man. I know you did it.
Don't let your mouth write a check, cause I will take it out on your ass. Damn, man. Is you serious?
I don't appreciate being roughed up by men. Or should I say, male bitches.
Yeah, you gonna work out.
And we look for young ladies like you to host them.
I look like somebody that can host your videos.
That's right. So go change, cause we ain't got all day.
Get off the her.
Pretty good, though.
What's all that bullshit?
Crazy. What the hell? How you in my room?
At the very same time that America refused to give the Negro any land, through an act of Congress, our government was giving away millions of acres of land in the West and the Midwest, which meant that it was willing to undergird its white peasants from Europe with an economic floor. But not only did they give the land, they built land-grant colleges with government money to teach them how to farm. Not only that, they provided county agents to further their expertise in farming. Not only that, they provided low interest rates in order that they could mechanize their farms. Not only that, today many of these people are receiving millions of dollars in federal subsidies not to farm, and they are the very people telling the black man that he ought to lift himself by his own bootstraps.
What's going on, people? How you feeling today? How are you feeling today? This is hashtag ObservationTFR episode 37 by Crazy D with my special guest host, my sister Tanya M. Congress. Let's get this on and going. Let's get it on and popping because this is an interesting day. This last night into this morning has been twisting up like a great episodic third season of The Chi. It's all twisting up. The plot is thickening, it's twisting, going all up and down many different roads. Listen, people. Anyway, what you got to say this morning? How's your morning going?
My morning is going all right. You know, I'm doing well as to be expected under the circumstances. I was up a little late last night because I had purchased some refill packages for my Reason recording software, music software. And for some reason, I got a brain fart and either I forgot how to transfer these files into the program, but whatever it is, it impedes on my creative process. So I'm going to have to call for support today when we're done with the broadcast. But as usual, I have my bowl of fruit here. I have cut nectarines and gala apples, and I have a little side pocket of ginger, fresh ginger, and I have my cup of coffee here. And just so y'all know, I only drink one of these in a day. It's not, and then it's heavily insulated from the inside. So basically, I'm only getting about maybe this much coffee, like where this little bump starts. All in all, it probably starts. That's about 8 ounces of coffee in this big mug.
Well, let's see. For me, I've got an apple this morning. An apple a day keeps the doctor away. He won't be back for many a day. My heart is sound, my head ain't turning around. I got my apple in this place called Las Vegas town. All right. Look here. I got my tea, throat coat tea. And of course, I've got my spring water. Drinking early in the morning.
That's what I'm missing, but I did have some water.
Yes. So people, first of all, we need to send shout outs, dropouts to all of our people watching us on Periscope, Vimeo, FB, and the Film Review Live channel. That's right, the Film Review Live channel on YouTube right now. We appreciate that you are in with us and that you are watching with us. Make sure on all the platforms that you smash the share button. Smash the share button. Smash the like button. And make sure that you subscribe. Subscribe to all of the platforms. Subscribe to the Film Review Live channel. Smash, 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 subscribe. Let the people know that we're on. Share this because we are going on another road. Boy, this is twisting between last night and today. This is twisting like it's been going back and forth like a cameo song. And it's been twisting and turning and twisting like a great episodic show. Third season, The Chi. This is going down. What is the topic for today? The topic for today is Ice Cube jumped the plantation to another. That is, Ice Cube jumped the plantation to another, or Ice Cube might just have dinner with the president. That's the topic for today. The world's up is down and down is up. Oh my Lord. Ice Cube assisted the Trump campaign with the Platinum Plan. Oh well, the world has come to an end for the Dixiecrat Coons, who've already early voted out of fear instead of taking a breath to breathe, to redirect their fear into well thought out movement. They gave their votes to Biden, who's out to finish what he started over 40 years ago. All of those who were released from prison, for example, due to Trump's First Step Act, are going back in under Biden and Harris. And those Dixie-loving coons fell for the non-American black acting American black again. Dang, man. You fell for that. You fell for the non-American black acting American black again. We just came off of that nearly 12 years ago. At the top, we were bamboozled. We were fooled. We were hoodwinked. Let's discuss. The phones are open. 213-943-3358. 213-943-3358. We want to see some operatives, some Dixiecrat operatives call up and get on the line. When you call in, if you just want to listen, just call in to 213-943-3358. But if you want to get in on a conversation on your touch tone, press 1. We will know that you want to get in on the conversation. And remember, the touch tone was technology brought to you by an American black woman. That's right, people. We have to always give reverence to our American black historic figures. That's right. So look. As we get started, now, I don't want the operatives to be calling at the last 2 minutes of the show. You know, I'm good at the 2-minute drill. We want to have some discussion. We want to know where Biden and them are going. We've already talked about on the previous shows about, you know, what the Dixiecrats were really offering American blacks, debt, and what they were offering the immigrants, our set-asides. But that's for another show. We're not going backwards. We're going forwards. So your childhood hip-hop hero, Ice Cube, assisted in the development of the advancement because they had certain elements, and once they read his plan, they asked, could we include some of these elements into it? And he said, sure, because he put the offer out. See, it's one thing about a Gemini that you will know. Gemini is extremely about word. And when the people seem to cut a Gemini, then all bets are off, and it's about lobbing your head off, really. I mean, truthfully. I mean, that's the way it is if you really know about Gemini males. Gemini females, it's another situation thing to me, in my opinion. They're just disruptors. But that's another story for another time about the Zodiac. But we're going here. So Q offered, he said that whomever contacts him, you know what the Dixiecrat said? Guess what the Dixiecrat said to him, Tiny? Guess what the Dixiecrat said?
I could only imagine. Okay.
The Dixiecrats did their trademark playbook. Wait until after the election. Like, you wait until after the election, then we will pass the anti-choke bill, and then it'll be another 50 years, and black people will be on the line, just like healthcare was another 50 years from Ted Kennedy and Nixon until it was finally put into law. Huh? They said, wait until after the election. In other words, vote for us, and then we may consider it afterwards.
Nah, you know what the
No.
Republicans did? It's obvious. What did they do?
Well, they embraced the idea. Obviously, it came to the table.
That's right. They embraced the idea. 213-943-3358. Smash the share button because we are taking you on a bumpy ride. Put your safety belts on. We're getting ready to go up 1,000 feet and come straight down into this bumpy curlicues, flip arounds. Get ready. Get ready because we're taking you on a ride. So let's start with some memes before we hit the rubber to the road. Memes that are going to help us prepare to hit the rubber to the road. Now, we've told you in previous shows about Biden, right? We told you all in #TFR Podcast Live that comes on at 5:30 p.m. Pacific, 8:30 p.m. Eastern on Sundays. The film review, movies, music, culture, politics, and society. We have been running it down to you from episodes 104 to 110, and then from 121 up to now 134. We're kicking it about herd immunity. Put a pin in that. But from 104 to 110, we were running down about the Dixiecrats, about COVID, all of that. We launched all that for you, right? So when we see things we were talking about way back last year, when they finally come up and they surface in memes. Here's a meme that is very interesting. 1977, Biden said integrating black students would turn schools into a jungle, a racial jungle. I don't want my children to grow up in a jungle, a racial jungle. Now, you're running for president and you don't think that these things will come up. Maybe Biden, in my opinion, and our opinion up here at #ObservationTFR, maybe he isn't that bright. But then the people who are following behind him, who are voting out of fear early, the Dixiecrat Coons, obviously, in my opinion, aren't that bright either, because he's talking about you, your kids, your uncles, your uncle, your mother possibly. Then he's talking about you, he's talking about your offspring, your offspring's offspring, and he has yet to apologize, which means he's still the same segregate. But we talked about that in previous episodes when we talked about the various types of racists. We're not going back, we're moving forward. So this is something that's coming up now that we talked about way back last year. Let's keep moving. Here's another one. This is conflating events here, right? This is conflating events, right? This is one of those photos that are supposed to pull at your heartstrings. We don't know who's putting this gobbledygook up, but they should really think about dealing with images that have to do with American blacks. Nobody that did this to your ancestors can show you the way to heaven. Nobody. It should be no one. No one that did this to your ancestors can show you the way to heaven. Now, it's a good sentiment on it. There's a good sentiment on it, but no, that's not it. That's not it. It's conflating issues. I want to say what's up to everybody that's listening. Joy LaShawn, Stuart Elsie, Patrice, good morning. Tracy Latrice, good morning to all that are on the broadcast watching us. Everyone that's watching us on Periscope, on Vimeo, on Facebook, and on the Film Review Live channel. Good morning to you. The chats are open and the phone lines are open. 213-943-3358. Now, here's one that we've been waiting for. It's a movie coming out called Bad Hair. Now, we talked about this about maybe a year and a half ago because it's been that long, but it's finally coming to Hulu. The writer and the producer of The Chi, she's Nina Waithe. Well, her last name is Waithe. Miss Waithe is in this film. This is a production about bad hair. It is a horror movie, and it is finally coming to Hulu. And we talked about this about a year and a half ago. It's been that long, but it is finished, and it is going to be in Las Vegas at the drive-in theater as well as being on Hulu. So for those who are out there who are practicing herd immunity, because that's what we're in right now, herd immunity. We talked about that. We'll get to that. But those who are practicing herd immunity, some wearing masks, some not, but still taking pictures like it's 1999, the drive-in will have this, and check your local times and listings for it. It's a good, it's going to be interesting. It's going to be a interesting piece. Now, let's keep moving. Smash the share button, smash the like button, because this is setting up to take you on the journey, on the ride that we're going to take today, because we have a lot of information to disseminate. And if you've been watching episodes 36 back to 1, you have gotten a lot of information that they are just now starting to put into the news cycle now, right? Now here's another piece that we talked about like 3 weeks ago, almost 20 some episodes ago. Black Lives Matter has received over $1 billion in corporate donations and over $100 million in individual donations. How specifically has that money been used? And who do you think is benefiting from it more? Poor black communities or Dixiecrat politicians? Why is there no concern? Why is there no concern? Well, you know, we hatched that in nauseam in an episode. Did we not talk about this? And to see these things coming into the news cycle, it's like if they had just watched our show, they would be up on what's actually happening with who BLM actually is. Now, let me preface this by saying this, right? Let me come so you can see me real quick. Let me preface this by saying about BLM. There are some people who are innocently believing that Black Lives Matter, the hashtag BLM, is what it's about. But there is a controlling force behind it that has to do with anarchy. And we've talked about anarchy in nauseam, given definition in previous episodes. Matter of fact, the episode is labeled Anarchy versus Anarchists versus accelerationists. If you don't know the difference and how they are and how it's like a triangle and it's the force of the state and then someone's in the middle, but we should sit out and just relax and do the old Negro wisdom of I'm staying out the way. Go back and watch that episode in total completion, because it gives you the information that you need to know. What do you have to say so far?
You know, put that meme back up for me, the Black Lives Matter meme. If you can put that back up for me real quick. Thank you. Now, the mere fact that this organization has received $1 billion in corporate donations and over $100 million in individual donations, that should tell you something, because had that been truly a Black organization, it would not have amassed that much contribution. History shows you that it would not have amassed that much of a contribution. And so we could take the mindset and say, well, you know, that's not what Black Lives Matter means to me. You know, I'm gonna wear this shirt. I'm gonna do this because Black Lives Matter to me. And in context, I'm not part of that in context. But the problem with that thought is, it is obvious that the Black Lives Matter movement has nothing to do with advancing Black people. You don't have to wear a t-shirt that says Black Lives Matter to know that Black Lives Matter. Black lives just do. You could serve your time better by getting out, first of all, revamping your thinking, and then within your individual spheres of influence, begin to speak in a manner that is going to drive us towards the same direction, right? Each one, teach one, right? So right now we're looking at something where you had some people who started the movement in the first place. It wasn't about Black lives, not unless it included lesbians and feminists. All right. It was never about Black lives in that regard. So these people, they have started a movement. They got these floating causes. That's what my problem is with them. They got these floating causes, which lets me know that they're opportunists of sorts. So now they didn't just float it off into the sunset and started different causes. The founders of this thing have started different causes. They're no longer a part of this. It's been co-opted and until you don't understand co-op, it's as if they started something, built it up in as far as appearance, and then secretly sold it behind the back door. So that a whole nother group of people, in this case anarchists, are using the moniker Black Lives Matter, but they're not doing anything concerning Black lives. But because you keep seeing Black Lives Matter, it's psychological how they're playing you. Black Lives Matter, but they're doing all kinds of destructive things that has nothing to do, it's counterproductive to anything Black. It has nothing to do with Black. And so at this point, Black people, you should cease wearing these shirts, cease buying these mugs and pencils and notebooks and everything with BLM on it. Cease and desist. You're supporting them. Abort mission. Abort it, because it has nothing to do with you. And so I would say, who's benefiting from it more? Well, poor Black, it ain't about more, because poor Black communities are not benefiting at all from it. More so the Democrat politicians would be benefiting more from it than anything Black. No, nothing Black is benefiting.
Nothing Black is benefiting. Nothing Black is benefiting. Peep the slang on YouTube, on the Film Review Life channel, says, Peep the slang says, Vegas is the building, let's go Cube. Vegas is the building, let's go Cube. Right? So look, the next one up is an interesting meme. It's a real interesting meme. Thank you. This one right here. It's like these memes are coming up that we have covered this in nauseum, and it's coming up now late. So this one says, vote like your life and future depended on it. Okay.
And we are. We're not.
Right. That's right. So listen. We already have said that we're not voting because no reparations, no American Black vote. No reparations, no American Black vote. Now, there's 3 ways to vote. They don't tell you. There is yay, nay, and abstain. And when you abstain, it is a political move, and to say that we abstain because you're not offering us anything that is worth anything for us to continue to vote for you. Vote like your life and future depended on it. If you ever read, now we broke this down when we did Donald Trump versus Biden, Joe Biden. When we did the tale of the tape, you can go back and watch that episode. We break down both of their plans in nauseam. And when you see that the Dixiecrat plans is about giving immigrants our set asides that Martin Luther King got his throat shot out for. And there on the other side, there is a person who has put together the Platinum Plan, and lo and behold, Ice Cube jumped the plantation, or he probably will finally sit down and have dinner with the president, but he assisted in the Platinum Plan. He put the olive branch out to both sides. One said after the election, the other said, hey, let's sit down and discuss. Vote like your life depended on it. Now, we keep on saying that there are Dixiecrat Coons, there are Repub Coons, there are nonpartisan Coons, there are independent Coons voting. They just want to belong to something. You need to go back through our episodes to get a understanding, middle standing, overstanding of what is being said here. We're moving forward. We're on episode 37. We've laid out everything that you need to know. Definitions, everything. Go back and watch those episodes. If you are voting as if your life and your generations after you were important to you and not a party, most likely you would be voting very differently than what your people are pushing you to do. But that's for you to go back and watch the previous episodes. We're moving forward. What do you mean by that, D? You got to go watch the previous episodes. All right, people, here's one. As we get closer to putting the rubber to the road, it says, as we read it here, the soul does not love. It is love itself. It does not exist. It is existence itself. It does not know. It is knowledge itself. Right? Interesting. What do you have to say about that before we move on?
As we begin to move out of being influenced so much by those things that are outside of us, that meme is very true and is applicable. Now, that the way it's expressed is coming from one school of thought. However, it's applicable to every spiritual school of thought, just voiced a different way. So, I mean, it's true. And basically that's saying it's God. It's what makes us God. It's what makes us us. God is love. God is has no beginning and no end. So he's self-existent and he's all-knowing. And so we have been gifted with those same attributes. We just fail to understand that because of so many other influences that indicate the otherwise. You know, we listen to them and we are relegated to this I'm only human thing, which gets on my nerves every time I hear it. But yeah, that's very true. Very true. Good expression.
Very true. Let's move on now. The day you realize your true value is the day you realize who doesn't. The day you realize your true value is the day you realize who doesn't. This is very applicable to the election. When you realize your value, your true value, what your true value is, then you realize who doesn't realize or value your true value, right? Now, this one comes from our brother-in-law, Will, yes. This one is a great one because I said, oh, people are listening, right? We was raised to believe Jesus was white. America was the land of the free, and U.S. blacks to vote Democrat. All three are bullpucky. They're bullpucky, right? We was raised to believe Jesus was white. America was the land of the free, and U.S. blacks to vote Democrat. All three are bull snit, right? Let's keep moving here. Let's keep moving here. Right? Perspective. See, all those people who voted early out of fear and not really looking and going over to the web. We've been pressing you to go over to the website and read what the Dixiecrats had in store for you, and you have not done it. If you haven't done it, you're gonna go into the voting booth, and you will damn your next generations, because there will be people who look like you, who are immigrants, or who may be immigrants who don't look like you. There's gonna be telling your offspring what to do. They're going to be the buffer between you. You have to go back and remember when American blacks were buffer between the Caucasians and the Indians in Manhattan. You have to go back, and you have to see, and you have to go, just go now. Go to Africa in certain countries where the Chinese are, and they use Indian police officers from India to be the buffer between them and the Africans whose country they're colonizing again as good Chinese African citizens. Let's keep moving. Here, this one also comes from our brother-in-law, Will. So my choices are between number 45, Pence, who don't like blacks, and Biden and Harris, who don't like blacks. Great choices for us, 100% shenanigans. Just let that sit. Let that sit for a minute. Now,
I'd like to say something about that.
Okay, go ahead. Here we go. Go ahead.
Now, the key element, don't like blacks. Don't like. You know, have you ever been in a situation where you don't like a person, but you still help them? Not liking can be attached to many different things, and it could express itself many different ways. Not liking, I don't know. I mean, for the first 5 out of 10 of the 10-point plan being fulfilled, which is something no other president has ever done, as far as keeping it, for him not to like us, you know, he's sure willing to do what's right. So not liking you is not attached to not doing what's right. You understand? So yeah, you know, by default, a lot of white people in power do not like blacks as a rule based on a lot of stereotypes, but they still may possess the ability to do what's righteous, you know, to an extent. In this case, it's been more done righteously than we've ever seen. So we can give credit for that.
Now, we've talked about on previous shows about the 10-point plan and how 5 out of the 10-point plan was implemented. And then he came with the platinum plan, and we were like, hey, that platinum plan looks good. It's kind of, you know, kind of right up the alley. It's plainly written. It's not that political gobbly-gop that they talk. And it's to the point of what it is. Now, we come to find out that Ice Cube was involved with this, right? And we've been telling you, this is twisting up. We keep telling you. Now, so this tweet came out on the 13th, and it started the avalanche and started the any type of natural disaster you could think of, the shock wave, the aftershock, the earthquake, the tsunami. It started it. The hurricane, right? It started it, right? Right here it says, shout out to @Ice Cube for his willingness to step up and work with @Real Donald Trump administration to help develop the hashtag Platinum Plan. Then there's a link to the Platinum Plan so that you could read the Platinum Plan if you would just read.
Just read.
And if you would go to Biden's website after you go through all of the various all the different modules, you think the third module is about you, but it's not. Go back and watch our episode, Donald Trump versus Biden, the tell of the tape. Right? After that's not it. Then you scroll down and you finally get to 3, and somewhere you're stuck at the end, and it's got something about immigrants and Mexican something, and you're like, whoa, why are 2 modules? Why are we next to 2 modules about that? And you open it up and you find out that you're going to be put in debt, but you have to go read that for yourself. We're going to tell you, read what they want to do for the immigrants. We're not going to repeat it again. We have it on previous episodes in nauseum. And if you would just read, leaders gonna lead, haters gonna hate. Thank you for leading. Katrina Pearson, right? So this was October 13th, 2020, and this sent the shock wave, right? Because, you know, Cube would come out with his contract with Black America, right? And you can go to his website, contractwithamerica.us, right? And you can read his plan and you can see what's implemented. Now, if you ask me, if a group of people don't blow you off and actually take interest in what you're saying, and if you research, you find out that the person has implemented 5 out of the 10 plans that the preachers put up initially. Remember when they were calling the preachers coons and everybody fell for it? They said they were sellouts and they was coons and they was with Trump. Well, they had come up with a 10-point plan. I bet you that was back in 16. I bet you haven't read that plan yet. And it's about you. And 5 of those were implemented, including funding, giving $250 million to historical black colleges so they don't have to keep running with their hands their hat in their hands every year trying to get funding, stretched out to 10 years. Hopefully the president that he made, then the next president comes in will extend it past that 10 years and not reverse it. Oh, you got to know what's going on. You got to know what's going on. You know, our father came from the Jim Crow South. And our father, you know, he mellowed in later years, but our father was rough. And it was like, you do what he says, right? Our father mellowed. Would you agree, Tanya? Our father mellowed over time, right? He mellowed.
Did.
Go ahead.
He did.
Right.
He did. And I think that he was how he felt he needed to be during the time that we were younger. He needed to be a certain way because we were growing up and he was rearing us, him and our mom. So he was being how he needed to be. Once we were grown, he was able to let that down a little bit.
Because they said that we are going to teach you and rear you here so that nobody out in the street will. That's right. So nobody in the street will. We will get you up from off of under the feet of people. So often our Father would say no to something and then come back later within maybe just a turnaround of 2 minutes and reverse that and be kind and generous. But it was like, no, because he was thinking about the times when he was coming up and it was no meant no. And he thought about it and said, no, I'm doing something different than it was done to me. So not equating Donald Trump to that, but you don't go by what a person says. You go by what they do. Actions speak loud. That's why that term, actions speak louder than words. And what has he actually said about American black people? You don't know that because you've been listening to the echo chamber. You've been listening to MSNBC, who has people on there who are immigrants that look like you but didn't fight your struggle, didn't fight your people's struggle. But you're listening to them. What does that make MSNBC if they're using Invasion of the Black Body Snatchers to try to inform you to go the way of the Dixiecrat? That makes them racist because they didn't want to hire an American black. They didn't want to hire a ADOS, one that doesn't take the crap and would tell them where to get off. Them others don't tell where to get off. They go along with the program. Watch closely when you see immigrants around. They look like you. And watch how they go around and get around and go along with the program, but then they try to dog you. Come on. Come on now. CNN, the same thing. It's disgusting. So to get good news, to get fair and balanced and with no fear, that's the slogan now on the other channel that I would hate. I've already said this in nauseam, but Fox, you get both sides. They have people on. It's not an echo chamber. You have not even read the plan that the pastors, the black pastors, came up with in good faith, and 5 of them have been implemented. It's a disgrace, and you say that you're for black people. I'm for American black people. I'm for policies that work for American black people. If you are for a party, you are a coon. There's no other way to cut it. 213-943-3358. 213-943-3358. The chats are open. You can put your comments. We will read your comments and we will retort. But there's no other way to cut that. If you are for a party, but you are not for your American black people, and you can't look at a candidate and say, he destroyed us, no vote for him. If the other one doesn't come up with reparations, no vote for him. We're going to abstain and say we abstained in a large block until we get what will repair us. If you're not saying that and you're for a party, you are a coon. Just face it. Just face it. We're not voting because there's no reparations on the table. But if they come up with reparations and it's legit, reparations, we're going to endorse. Yes, sir. Let's keep moving. Him. This comes from Boyce Watkins. Boy, politics makes strange bedfellows. And so this comes from Boyce Watkins, who also had Cube on his. Stay tuned because we have another video presentation edited up by yours truly, Crazy D. And you know my video presentations get to the point. They are concise and precise in the editing, and they get to the point. We're going to let the man himself, Cube, speak. And of course, we're going to come in and give context, right? But here we go. This is Boyce Watkins, right? So Boyce Watkins says, him, the Dixiecrat party loves black people, so why would Ice Cube meet with Republicans? Me. Nobody owns black people. Him. He is so flustered, him, that Boyce Watkins is emulating here, him, that his diction and his writing ability goes straight to snit, okay? But we want black people to be free, so why won't you do the what they F we tell you to do? So flustered that the English language just went to crap. Me. That's not freedom. That's slavery. Go away. That's not free. That's not even freedom. That's slavery. That's not even freedom. You don't own me. Have you seen, let me bring this down for a minute. It's a disgrace. It's a disgrace. Have you seen the commercial where they use the little boy and he's looking at Biden's American pen on his lapel? And Biden is there and he takes the pen off and gives it to the little boy, and the mother is so happy and just so great to be, in our opinion and observation, they're just so happy and so great to see, to be standing by this Caucasian man, and it's the grandmother for sure, because she looks too old, just observations, to be the mother. And the little boy is there. I mean, you're making Toby instead of Kunta Kinte if you understand the reference. I gotta get that jet. You got to send the jet. People will know what I'm talking about in law. You got to send the jet. But anyway, look. Let me go on. I mean, people was hopping and popping around here when Biden came here. They was hopping, it was jumping. Oh boy, he was getting all kinds of photo ops. I done seen people using his photo ops, and they ain't gonna get nothing. Let's continue on.
He got about a whole basket of them pens that he grabbed a handful of them before he leave to go where he going. He didn't give away nothing by giving away that pen. He got a whole basket full of those pens that he grabs before he leaves to get on the plane. He didn't give nothing.
He said, that's your reparations, son. I gave you that American pendant of the American flag. That's your reparations, son. We gave you the non-American black, acting American black Kamala for some who call her that. Kamala, others. I call her Kamala because she's Indian, from India, descended, not American, black. But we gave you her. That's your reparations. And before that, we gave you Obama, who wasn't American black either. Okay, let's continue. Okay. Here's another one from Boyce. Like I said, politics makes strange bedfellows. Ice Cube is the former slave who ran away from the plantation. Now the Dixiecrats are trying to get back their property. We should have some people have ironed this out a long time ago, and we wouldn't have to use these references of the plantation. All right. So, we wouldn't have to use these references of the plantation. Okay, people. Now, if you thought that was putting the rubber to the road, we are getting ready to begin. So you smash the share button and the like button. You have to have humor in this, because we told you from episode 1 all the way up to episode 36 and now 37 that this was coming. And when this all twisted up like this, when this is all twisted up, and some of them people that went out there and they have wasted their vote they're gonna find out later. They're going to find out after they have wasted their vote. They did not go and research their vote. They're going to find out later how detrimental their vote was. Vote like your life and your future depending on your future is your future offspring, your grandchildren, your great-great-grandchildren. Where are they going to be? Who's going to be over them telling them what to do? The 22 million African immigrants here, we're 42 to 44 million. We could have been 66 million, but 22 million of us have been aborted.
I got a question, an observation of something. Remember, I told you that I've been getting like almost at least 3 times a week. I get something in the mail to fill out these ballots and things like that. Now, who is monitoring where these things are coming from? How many of them are being sent out? How many of them are coming back? And if they're going to count the same person 3 and 4 times, I don't trust simply because it's such an overkill. I mean, I get text messages. I get text messages from 4 or 5 different organizations, women's organization, Black women's organization. I get all kinds of things. And some of these things are coming out of Columbus, Ohio, which is our state capital. And I'm saying, who's monitoring where things are coming from and how much is being counted? I don't trust this whole process. I don't, but I don't. I just really don't trust it.
And it's very important. It's very important that people really listen. So anyway, so like I said, this came up October 13th, and this is one of the responses to it, right? Make sure you smash the share button, like button, all that, because we are going to play the video presentation. Did you know that Cube was on with Roland this morning? We have some of that. But we're going to have Cube speaking his own words about what's going on. You see, this can't be, this is like when Martin Luther King was going, you know, there were people who were against what Martin Luther King said. They were against what Hera Belafonte said. Before Martin Luther King, they were against what Old Man River, what Old Man River used to say, right? Paul Robeson, they were against what he said, and he was moving it forward, right? They were against it because they said, you are rocking the boat. This is not what we're used to. This is not what it is. This is a paradigm shift. Are you informed enough to be ready for it to move in the right direction? Some of you have already voted, which has disqualified you. That will put you out the game forever. Now, this was, so the woman responds to what Katrina Pearson says. She says, this was a key issue for Ice Cube. He is a man of his word. He said he would work with whichever campaign put forth an economic and prosperity plan, especially for Black community. Trump did it. Welcome aboard, Ice Cube. Trump did it. Welcome aboard, Ice Cube. Let's look at some other tweets that came in. Like, people who voted early out of fear and didn't look, didn't read, didn't just listen to what, why would you listen to what a Caucasian on either side tells you without doing the research when you say that you can't trust Caucasians, but yet you're trusting Caucasians? Let me take this down for a minute so I can look at you and ask that question again. This is very important, see. We don't say, up here, we don't say trust Caucasians. We say we look at policies that will help American Blacks get their repair. That's what we say. We don't say we trust Caucasians. There's too much history on all the sides. We done broke down all the sides of everything back there talking about the anarchists and the accelerationists. Go back and watch that episode. We don't have time to go keep on repeating. Why would you trust what a set of Caucasians have said when you say that we are in a system where you can't trust Caucasians because they have been about the degradation and the destruction of American Black people since we were no longer property? But
and you know what else?
But yet, let me say this last point. I'm bringing. But yet, you still rely, the reason why you are able to speak freely and walk around freely is you're reliant on laws that Caucasians afforded you due to people fighting and saying that if you want us to do something for you, you want us to give you a vote, we will give you the vote if you do this. That's what Martin Luther King did. He didn't just say, oh, let's just march, let's just boycott this bus company without a demand. You're out there protesting and doing something, you just going along feeling good, oh, I'm part of the cause, without having a demand. It's not about trusting either side. So why would I sit up and listen to echo chamber or listen to the other that has been traditionally known to be racist and just take it verbatim without going out and researching? Everything is your Dewey Decimal System is right there in Google. You go to Google, you type in, and you can research and find out what you need to know. Why would you trust any Caucasian when you say I can't trust Caucasian, but you are trusting Caucasian? You talking about you going to vote for this dude because you afraid of the other dude, but you ain't researched what he did. You didn't research what he did to put your uncle, your father, your sister, your daughter in prison. You didn't research the dude that your people were selling for, who was actually funding a war half around the country. Then they penalized them for funding the war through crack rock. Two sides, Democrat and Republican, but you don't go research that though. You don't say I'm going to abstain and we're going to, as a mass group, say we're going to abstain. No, we got to vote because he's going to do something. When Trump can't do nothing that we don't allow him to do. But when Biden get in there, you're going to allow him to do everything because you're going to think, oh, he's got our best interests at heart, but you didn't research. So you don't know. It is a disgrace. It is a disgrace. It is a disgrace before God. Honestly. And you calling yourself Christians, Muslims, Buddhists, whatever you believe in. It's all the same, but whatever you believe in, you're saying you're that, but you're believing one Caucasian, if you do the research, they've never been good for you. The other one hasn't been good for you. But you're going to believe them because it makes your dopamine release in your brain. You're not about American black. You're about being a party coon. Party till it's 19, oops, out of time.
You know, because we have a diverse audience that tunes into observations, hashtag observations, I have to speak to this because I hear all different kinds of things in my different online relationships and stuff with people. And this is what I want to give you a biblical reference, because I'm hearing a lot of Christians say, well, you know, it seems like some black people are idolizing their, being black over being Christian. And I want to speak to the fact that in the New Testament, the Apostle Paul and Peter, it says they withstood each other to the face because Paul was speaking to the converted Jews and Peter was speaking to the Gentiles that had converted to Christianity. And they were having an argument over whether to eat meat or not eat meat. Both of them were at a deficit, so to speak, because it wasn't a matter of eating meat or not at the time. It was a matter of what type of meat to eat they should have been discussing. But because they had inserted their personal positions from whence they came into the argument, it became a fight because they had their personal stances from whence they came. So I said all that to say that when you have people that's coming from different backgrounds, there's always going to be, it should be a concern from that which you're in. For those of you who take the stance that, oh, you know, we're all one in Jesus, that's not true. If that's the case, all churches would be integrated. I've experienced dealing with white people who did something separate during the 911 situation and went down. There was a separate prayer conducted in our city, and when they were sent an invitation, they did not come and partake of the ones that was being headed by the church that I was at the time. And it was citywide. It was on Public Square. That's where it took place at. They didn't partake of that, but then they decided, after not having originally had the idea, they decided to do their own thing at a later date in like Public Hall or one of the bigger venues indoors and not outdoors. So that was just one example of many where we could say we might be one in the belief of Christ, but even in that, we're not one on how that is even being expressed and implemented. So do not take the stance where you come in and say, well, you can't elevate your ethnicity over your religion, because I'm going to tell you something. Now get mad at this if you're going to get mad at anything. The religion itself, and I'm going to get off of this, the religion itself is flawed. And I'm going to leave it right there. I'll come back to that at another time on one of my own broadcasts, but it's flawed.
Okay, people. So look. Smash the share button. Smash the like button. Let people know that we're on. Share, like, tag your people in it, because we are bringing information. And this is medicine today. Medicine can sometimes be bitter to you when you are waking up from out the fever, from out the delirium. The medicine that will heal you can sometimes be bitter. The natural remedy can be bitter. Someone writes to Katrina and Q and the real Donald Trump, Kanye's going to get jealous. The person didn't have a picture on their avatar. That's here nor there for that. So the person responds. You can see the names up there. Excuse me. Kanye won't be jealous. Frankly, it's cool seeing rappers like Kanye, Cube, Diddy, and Ice-T challenge black people to ask, has our decades-long loyalty to Dixiecrats really improved our communities? 213-943-3358. I'd like to hear from some of the operatives that were calling in the beginning, but then all of a sudden we start going real deep into it beyond the talking heads and arguing, because we don't argue. We just want to exchange ideas. We want to exchange ideas for the betterment of American black people. Everything else can go to, well, you know where it can go. Okay, so here we go. So here's another person who does have a picture on their avatar, you see. Listen, if you're mad at Ice Cube for helping Trump develop a black agenda, be mad at all the celebrities that helped the Dixiecrats develop a black agenda that they never did. I'm mad at Ice Cube for falling for that snit, knowing damn well Trump ain't going to do snit, right? He's saying he's mad at Cube. But we know for sure by looking at Biden's plan. See, we show you all sides. We don't clip and just say, hey, we're only going to show you one side. We show you all sides and all opinions. It's one thing for sure. When you go to the Dixiecrats, to the Biden page, they show you what they're about, and it surely isn't about us. They show you what you're going to do to you. They're going to put you in debt. That's what they show you. I mean, clearly. I mean, it's just clear as day. But anyway, listen here. So, here's Q. Q responds, right? He responds the next day on October 14th. Facts. I put out the CWBA. Both parties contacted me. Dem said, we'll address the CWBA after the election. That's their playbook. If you go back and you research, that's their playbook. If Kennedy hadn't got his cap peeled and Johnson hadn't have got in there feeling kind of bad, then directing Martin Luther King, MLK, on how to get the media presence there so he could push this through because he was feeling bad because fellow Caucasian his cap was peeled. That wouldn't have happened, and Kennedy would have said, well, wait until you elect me. And he was going for the next term right then when he got his cap peeled in Dallas, and they would have kicked it down the road, and then they would have kicked it down the road and said, well, make sure you elect the next Democrat because I wasn't able to get to it in my last 4 years in the presidency. But kick it down the road. That's what they do. So, facts. I put out the CWBA. Both parties contacted me. Dem said we'll address the CWBA after the election. Trump campaign made some adjustments to their plan after talking to us about the CWBA. Who's taking your vote for granted while you're out there handing your vote over so easily? And they're basically telling you if you go to the website and just read Biden's plan. It's a lot to read. You got to cut through a lot of modules. I'm telling you, you got to cut through a lot of modules just to get to you. It's about maybe a quarter way down. The first one you think economic justice for minorities, but we're not a minority. You click that and you find out what that's about. That's not about you. That's about joining different people together to take your set-asides. Then you go down and you finally get there, but you're put in there with, you got a module there for you, talking about lift every voice and sing. I'm going to make it easy for you. Lift every voice and sing. First of all, why do we have to have something that's supposed to be taken seriously, talk about lift every voice and sing? It's an insult. It's an insult. It is an insult. And that Sanders woman, I can't never remember her first name, Simone.
Simone.
I got it. Simone Sanders. She is not even... Well, I'll let you go figure that out for yourself. But lift every voice, sing, making that a title, that is an insult. That is an insult, but you're going to take that insult, and some of you have early voted. I am sorry to tell you that you are on the wrong side of history. See, we're not voting because we said we want reparations on the table and no vote. What's your excuse? You just want to be a good party coon. And the people on the Republican side, they haven't, well, at least they did offer the platinum plan, and they did reach out to a person that has been strong in the black community, American black community, speaking out on records, right? And speaking out when necessary and standing for his when necessary. You need to go back and watch some of those videos with the Harry Foxman and all that, and the Anti-Defamation League and everything. And this man has come through all of it, right? At least they did reach out and they did do something. And he does have black people that are out front working. And you can't call everybody else coon, because what are you calling the people who are leading you in the wrong direction? What would you call them? They're leading you in the wrong direction, and the people and the plans they have for you are not the right plans. What would you call those people? They're all coons in my book, because I'm an American black man about American black politic. I'm about policy. I'm about policies, legislation that helps us. Forget everybody else. That's for real. Now, without further ado, people, it is now time for the video presentation. And, you know, we always take our time to make sure that we bring this across. So I wanted you to hear this in his own words. Ice Cube in his own words. We have Ice Cube. We have Roland interviewing Ice Cube. And then we have Joe Brown. Smash the share button, smash the like button. There is information that's getting ready to be disseminated. This has already been kind of bumpy for some, I could tell. I'm looking. Some, it's bumpy for some. They say, dang, it's a hard medicine. This guy is calling me. Personally, I don't know what your what your voting stance is. But we appreciate that you're sitting here watching us today. We don't know what your voting stance is, so you shouldn't take it personal unless you believe that you're actually one or the other or the party. But to actually be that, you would actually be over there in downstate or upstate or at the Capitol, actually producing laws and legislation and voting, being in elected office to actually be that. Other than that, you just vote that, but you're not that. You should vote along what helps American blacks and nothing else. So let's go through this. So let's start with Cube here. 213-943-3358. We're trying to hear if the pundits were calling all through, you know what I'm saying, they always would do the 2-minute drill with us and the 2-minute drill with shut them down, shut them down, shut them down.
You know what?
Right? Go ahead. Wait, hold on 1 second. Go.
You know what? Couldn't you hear it? Like, as I'm sitting here and we were saying that when he went to the Dems, they said, you know, we can do it after election. Check the weak psychology that they tried to play there. Check that. So when you vote for us and we get in, so now what he was supposed to do, because they couldn't actually come out and say vote for them, right? That you can't do that. They can't. I mean, they couldn't just say that in context of him speaking with them about policy, right? So they said after the election, we'll talk to you. So in other words, you're assuming power because now what you want him to do is go out and encourage everybody to vote Dem because they said they're going to talk to us once they get in. I mean, this is something that what's going to have to be realized here by the Democrats. They take a lot for granted. And one of the things they take for granted is we got nodules on the side of our neck like Frankenstein and our head screw on and off. That's one of the things that they take for granted. And the nerve of that. And then secondly, I could hear the racism in their voice. In what they said, well, you know, after the election, we'll talk to you. It was dismissive. It was dismissive. So your cause right now is not important for us to take a break and sit down and hear what you have to say. It's not that important. So we'll get to it. We'll get to it after the more important stuff, the more important matters are taken care of. You were never going to speak about that. It was never going to get to that.
What's the concerning part about this is they had immigrants that are Africa American, working for these campaigns who are speaking on behalf of the candidate that look like you, that are saying, we will discuss it later. The buffer is already there. And you got to do your research to know. Cube.
What's happening, fam? You already know how I get down. Over the last few months, I've been really going deep into this political space. You know, reading a lot of history, trying to understand how systems work, not getting caught up in anybody's rhetoric, but looking for my damn self, and just trying to figure out why we continue to, you know, flounder at the bottom.
He said that he watched. He goes and investigates. He doesn't listen to the talking heads. Translation. He doesn't listen to the talking heads. He goes out and researches for himself to get to the reason why we have been traditionally floundering at the bottom. Tracy, could you read Stu LZ's comment? Because I'm not seeing it, but my producer just came in and told Tracy Latrice said that there is. So if you could read his comment, because I'm not seeing it. You know, Facebook sometimes blocks me from things. It's just part of their policy, I believe. If you could read his comment, please. Do you see it?
Yes, I see it.
Okay, go ahead.
He says the Democrats took a lot of assumptions last time and lost.
Assumptions last time and lost. Q.
You know, what is it? And what I found is that it's systems in place, as we all know. It ain't because, you know, we ain't doing what we supposed to do as black people, because, of course, we all can do better. You know, there's shit that we need to do to clean up ourselves and our community, but besides that shit, the system is fucked up. It's just designed totally. And not only designed, but there's a dedication to keeping us at the bottom of this country. And I don't know if we can count on any parties to get us about the shit, to be honest. So we are gonna have to do a lot of things different as a black community. We have to pool our resources. We have to think about ourselves. You know, we love all the other races of the world, but at some point we gotta figure out how do we get ahead, because everybody's on top of us. But
one is on top of us and we're not on top. What have we been saying on hashtag TFR Podcast Live, hashtag ObservationTFR? If you go and read Biden's program, matter of fact, you just go back to our episode where we did the tell of the tape. And we lay out the situation, and then you can go over to the website and then sift through all the modules to see that what we said was exactly correct. No, we broke it down, both sides. Let's continue on.
Us, or everybody's on top of us, and the shit ain't gonna work. We ain't gonna survive this. The way it's going, it's just designed that I can't see the future. So we gotta change this shit. Everybody's been mad at me because I haven't been on the fucking, you know, the gravy train of these candidates, you know, especially Joe Biden and Harris. You know, I don't trust none of them. No president has done right by us. So I don't trust none of them.
Here we go.
So putting our hopes and dreams behind any of them just don't work. We gotta make them do what we want them to do, and there's only a few ways to do that. Now I've been
That's right. That's right.
making contacts, trying to talk about these real issues. Straight up, I believe the Democrats they've been nice, they've been cordial, so to speak. I don't really see them pushing their policies in any different direction. They're still talking this minority, people of color shit that don't necessarily include us, that don't necessarily include Black Americans, especially descendants of slaves, ADOS.
Right there. Now look, back on, where's my sheet at? Where's my paper? Back on August 2nd, 2020, we had a show where we talked about why ADOS is being shut out of the reparations discussion by black politicians, right? And we referenced Ice Cube then because Ice Cube had put out a video where he was putting out olive branches to various people who had been working on the solution to the struggle that American blacks have been going through in this country. And he put out olive branches, and I noticed that ADOS, the two spokespersons, got into, in my opinion, their feelings and pretty much wanted to show why he was just an entertainer, etc., etc. And we said on the show that it should be because there was Paul Robeson and Harold Belafonte, even Sidney Poitier, various entertainers over time that have pushed for the advancement of American black people, right? And I said that maybe they need to swallow their pride and just come in because he is the spearhead, because he has a certain amount of popularity. And he's in it, he's been in it for the long haul, but this shutdown brought about his focus. And he's always been about, we laid out a broad plan and we need the modules to connect in. Not as many as Biden has on his website about his ideas, his goals, his bold ideas. But anyway, look. So we said that, right? And we talked about that. Now, later in the presentation, you're going to see where a member of NCOBRA, see, you don't probably know what NCOBRA is. You should look that up. They've been fighting for reparations for over 20-some years, right? And so they're kind of anti-ADOS. Who are these young officers? Oh, this is just politics that don't need to be happening when we need to be like this. Right? We don't need to be button heads. We need to be like this, right? So what you will find is there were people who, when he was interviewed on Roland Martin, said, we are with you from the top. And we said that they will shoot themselves in the foot with this. And sure enough, we also talked about herd immunity. And I saw as I was researching this Ice Cube that Roland on the show yesterday just started talking about herd immunity, saying that Trump's administration is in herd immunity. We talked about that on August 2nd, 2020, that we were headed into herd immunity. And all the people who are out there partying like it's 1999, some have masks, some don't. They take pictures with the mask off. You are practicing herd immunity. So which person would you rather be with, just using what you're doing? The person who said they're going to shut it all the way down, or the person who is about getting the economy generating again? So it's all these things. It's so complex, but yet so simple.
So simple, yeah.
But we're not voting because there's no reparations on the table. And I'm not a Dixiecrat Coon, a Repub Coon, a nonpartisan Coon, or independent Coon. I'm not about party. I'm about American black people. Q.
American descendants of slaves. That ain't specifically us. It's everybody. We ain't gonna get shit. Because when you look around, everybody hate us. So we still at the bottom of that. So, I think the Democrats, they got every black celebrity and shit on their team, so they just figure, tell Q to shut the fuck up and vote. And so, I ain't gonna do that. I'm gonna push the program. We got a program, I'm pushing it on everybody. We also met with the Republicans and shit. They brought us in, we talked to them. They've moved their agenda a lot because of what we said. They put $500 billion on the table, and but who knows? Who knows what's gonna really happen? I just know one of them gonna win. And I don't know if it can really matter to us. We gotta just push whoever is in there, because ain't nobody really solved our problems. You know, people say we can't take another 4 years of this. Black people, we could take anything, shit.
Well, you see, people, we talk about fear. And when I learned that fear, that fight or flight is of the same emotion, fear, I said, I'll stand in instead of retreat and run. Right? It's like you're doing things from out of fear and you're retreating into the dark caves that you know out of so-called security, but those dark caves are going to have an avalanche and trap you in it, and you are going to suffocate. What are we saying on this show? It's not like this was just put up a couple of days ago. We've been talking about this over 2 years on the Film Review, Movies, Music, Culture, Politics, Society podcast. And we've been talking about this in nauseam since episode 1 all the way up to now, 37 on hashtag ObservationTFR.
I want to say something about something he said. He said that we don't know. He said we don't really know what's going to happen. There's $500 billion on the table, but we don't know. And so I guess he was addressing what some doubters would say, well, you don't know if they're going to do that. But what we can say is that when a person is establishing a track record where they've already done some things that's beyond what any other president has done, including Barack Hussein Obama, inclusive of him, more than what he did as he faces jail time. So more than more than what he did for us, as he regrets killing Gaddafi, that he can't say why he did in the first place. More than what he's done for us, people. So just by the track record over the first 4 years of the 5 out of 10-point plan being addressed, and not just addressed, implemented, we could say odds are, it's good odds, a good chance that he is going to go with his word because he did it the first time. So we have at least that to go on or to wager against, as opposed to somebody talking about, well, you know, we can talk about that after we get in, after you vote for us and you go, I encourage all your people to vote for us, Mr. Rapper. You have some influence. We'll use your influence as we use you to go and influence your people to vote and we get in, then perhaps we can sit down and have a discussion and just hear what you have to say and let it go through one ear and out the other. Well, you let us go up in you the next 4 years and sodomize you again.
I mean, Joe Biden, you know, the Democrats, I believe they owe us. Will they do right by us at the end of the day? Who knows? You know, I think the plan they have is you know, they're doing a lot when it comes to safety and police and all this shit, but you know, that dough is thin. Everybody money is thin. I mean, we're not gonna get no respect in this country without the cash. We ain't gonna get no respect in this country without having money in our community. It just ain't gonna happen.
Not gonna happen.
It's not gonna happen. So everybody can be mad at me, pissed off at me. You know, I don't give a, you know, hey, Y'all know what it is. I'm trying to get to the truth. I ain't about to be part of nobody program. Ain't nobody gonna, you know, get me to back down.
Come on.
And if y'all don't want to hear the truth, then that's your, you know, that's kind of a personal problem. I'm gonna keep spitting it how I see it, you know, and I think the problem is we're a little too one-sided, and we need to hold everybody to the fire and make sure everybody do what they're supposed to do when it comes to black people, not get caught up in a whole lot of white people business. We need to worry about our own, what's going on with us. And then when we get what we gotta get, then we'll, you know, welcome everybody. But we gotta make a decision, and we gotta push people to do something big and do it right now.
Let's get right to it. When did it hit you where you said, you know what, I've got to do something. I've got to help put something together to help our people?
You know, I had thought of a piece of what's now called the Contract with Black America. I had thought of a piece of it called the American Jobs Pact, where it was just a great, you know, program where industry could work with the community and government. And so, you know, I was working on that idea for a while, and then I ended up getting into the big three. And, you know, to start a league, a pro league from scratch, you know, it kind of, you know, monopolized my time. So it really took me away from it. And, you know, we're 4 years into that, and that's rolling. We didn't get a chance to play this year. So I had a lot of time on my hands. So with this situation with George Floyd and where the country is now understanding how much we need reform everywhere, you know, overhaul, reconstruction of everything. I started thinking, you know, with, you know, a bunch of smart people, and we said, you know, let's think of something broad. Let's look at all the areas where systematic racism or systematic exclusion is keeping us from having generational wealth.
Let me stop that right there. The key thing that he says in that generational wealth is the big key, but the opening to that statement is, he said, reconstruction. He said reconstruction. Remember, we talked about phraseology, and he is a MC and a person, a poet. He can phrase those words. He said reconstruction. He didn't have to use that word, but he has been studying the situation, and he said reconstruction. For you, we don't have time for Tanya to go look up the word reconstruction for you to know what it is. You should know what it is because it was simple, you know, history class. But if you don't know, go look up reconstruction. It was not completed, and reconstruction was for American blacks to be made whole in the society. I will tell you that much. So when he says reconstruction, he's going back like the Confederates go back and say, we want this to be, we believe in reconstruction. Let's continue.
And so in digging, you see where all the pitfalls are, where all the obstacles, all the systematic stuff that keep us back that's happening in this country. And so that's what really started, you know, us thinking that we need something broad that we can ask government and the private sector to be a part of.
How do you respond when people say, man, look, I'm not trying to listen to some entertainer talking about these policy issues. You shouldn't be addressing this stuff.
I shouldn't have to. Really, I shouldn't. But, somebody's got to, set something in motion that's more than just, reforming one thing like the police. You reform the police, and if you leave the prison system in place and the justice system in place, it's not going to matter. We're getting it from all ends, so everything has to be reformed at the same time. Of course, we welcome smarter people to come look at what we got and build off of it. This isn't Ice Cube's contract with Black America. This is a contract with Black America. So anybody can help us make it better. We're not legislators, so we don't have to take it the whole way. We just got to present what we believe we collectively need and the change that we collectively need to get a foothold in this country. Because the whole thing about, it's all about education. You pull yourself up by your bootstraps. If you don't have no boots, you ain't got no bootstraps. And we ain't got no boots. We need some boots.
Well, folks,
pull ourselves up.
Well, folks always love to use that phrase, the bootstrap, but the reality is white folks didn't pull themselves up by the bootstraps. They received significant governmental assistance. Dr. King talked about that when it came to the land that was distributed all across this country, and when you talk about the resources as well.
At the very same time that America refused to give the Negro any land.
We play this at the top of the show as a pre-intro to the show every single week, and then we see that Roland references it, and so I decided that I would cut it in. If you have never heard this is Martin Luther King after I Have a Dream. This is Martin Luther King after the assassination of Malcolm X. This is Black is Beautiful, Dr. King, the one that they don't tell you about when he found out that it's more than just symbolism that is needed. We need some economics, because they were handing economics out for free. They were handing out land for free, subsidies for free, and paying for people not to farm. Let's continue.
Through an act of Congress, our government was giving away millions of acres of land in the West and the Midwest, which meant that it was willing to undergird its white peasants from Europe with an economic floor. But not only did they give the land, they built land-grant colleges with government money to teach them how to farm. Not only that, they provided county agents to further their expertise in farming. Not only that, they provided low interest rates in order that they could mechanize their farms. Not only that, today many of these people are receiving millions of dollars in federal subsidies not to farm, and they are the very people telling the black man that he ought to lift himself by his own bootstraps.
But again, that's just one of those phrases that is always used to make black folks believe that we have to do everything ourselves, as opposed to, even now, you look, we're sitting here having a conversation, over this digital platform. The internet wasn't created by the private sector. Government created the internet. That's how Mark Zuckerberg is rich, and the guys who own Google and the rest of all these tech CEOs. This was a government creation.
Without a doubt. The government just pulled $3 trillion out of a hat. And they bailed out a lot of big major companies. But how many black companies did they bail out? We're 13.5% of the country, give or take. So we deserve 13.5% of that money to go into our communities to help us get a foothold. The wealth gap is 10-1. Every dollar that a white family has, a black family has 10 cents. And it's not getting closer, it's just getting bigger. That has to That has to stop, change, and reverse. We have to catch up, and we will never catch up at this pace. It's designed for us not to catch up, and we got to break that design. How many government contracts go to black contractors?
Yep.
You see, it's a shame. Like we talked about in episode 124, where we talked about herd immunity and ADOS, why ADOS is being shut out of the reparations discussion by black, quote unquote, black politicians. We talked about that and said, oh, what a shame that is that they don't just maybe stealthily, because he studied that. That comes from off of ADOS101.com. All you gotta do is go to ADOS and read. They already have it all laid out. They have how the money would be distributed. They've broken it all down. All you have to do is just read. And he has read that. That comes from that. That comes from those statistics that ADOS has already done. And so maybe on the stealth, and everything doesn't have to be known to be moving. Maybe they moved together, and hopefully that's what it is. But we'll tell, because we're going to go listen to them afterwards to see what they got to say, if there's criticism or if there's jubilation.
We should be getting 13% of that.
Well, this week on the show, I've been calling out Young and Rubicam because they control the contract when it comes to getting the word out about the census. That's a more than $300 million contract. $100 million that was supposed to go to black media and has gotten pennies. Now, they finally are responding to us, but the fact is, I had to call them out, put them on blast on social media. That's the kind of stuff that should not happen. And the reality is, we see this all across the board. And not only that, when we do get a contract, they devalue the black business or the black consumer, and so they'll give us even less when it comes to that contract than somebody else who is appealing to a white audience. So even when we do get a contract, it's still less.
They got 1,000 games, and we sick of the games. It's time for them to give us our just due. This is something we're owed. This isn't something we're asking for or begging for.
Right.
We give all that tax money to the government, and all they do is give it to their friends. Money don't trickle down. It always trickles up.
Is Trump a racist? I don't think so.
This is Judge Joe Brown. I've got warnings. Wait a minute. I saw Judge Joe Brown, because Judge Joe Brown is about to say something about what FB and Twitter and Instagram have cut out about Hunter Biden. He's about to say that as soon as Joe Brown's voice came on, there was a warning shot sent across the bow. Said, "Wait a minute." Joe Brown is going to talk about Trump as a businessman. Now, remember, people who have been studying this for a while, we told you this on previous shows, people who have been studying white supremacy, to make something run, a white supremacist will be a white supremacist in business and know who can make something run. If you really listen to what Donald Trump has to say, like, we're not voting, so we're so liberated, we're not voting for either one because ain't no reparations on the table. Democrats started the reparations during the primaries, didn't say nothing about it. You should feel totally abused by that because they didn't say anything. And then Trump, he kind of referenced it just a little bit when he told the people at the summit last summer that American black people built this country. He said African Americans built the country. I say American black. American blacks built this country. I bet you didn't know he said that, did you? But anyway, let's keep moving because your mind is bogged down with the echo chamber and you're not hearing it, right? But so he's going to talk about Trump as a businessman. So I'm going to let him say it in his own words. He said the guy asked him, "Do you think Trump is a racist?" And he said, "I don't think so." Let's see if these warning shots come up with just Joe Brown's voice again. Let's see.
I've talked to a number of black entrepreneurs who back in the late 80s and 90s, early 90s, were trying to get financing. They couldn't. Somebody told them to go check with Donald Trump. So they come back and tell me they got a loan from Donald Trump. He gave them a term loan. Show up with the interest and the principal, one check, but they had to go see him personally. They independently relate this tale that when they saw him, he said, "This what you supposed to pay me? This our agreement?" I said, "Yeah." And then tore the check up, shook their hands, and congratulations. Now run your business.
And this was when?
This was back in the 90s. See, most people don't even know this. He had a sister. He was, every time you saw him back in the 90s, fine paper bag, brown, beautiful black model. He likes fine women. He didn't have any problem with dating a black woman, walking her down red carpets. So, I mean, she says he's not a racist. He just doesn't like many people, black or white. And he appreciates people who do stuff within their lane. Well, not stay in their lane, but where they choose to be. If they do it well, he admires them. Black, white, brown, red, yellow. Most people don't know this. He was the finance man behind Jesse Jackson's 2 runs for president.
Wow.
So, you know, he talks, but I don't mind somebody talking. I think we've gotten too sensitive to that. That's part of the effeminization of the country. I remember in junior high and high school, hey, man, I won't say nothing, man, but last night when I saw your mama, man, you don't know I was over there because you were asleep, man. But blah, 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 blah. We ran the dozens. That was our sport. Mm-hmm. So we were used to talking about each other. Now, man, he talking about my mama, man. What's wrong with you?
Mm-hmm. Do you think Trump will get reelected?
I think he's going to get reelected. This impeachment mess we've got right now, there's a thing called the U.S. Constitution, and the Constitution says the president is the chief diplomatic officer of the United States. It puts no limits on his discretion. It simply says that if he comes up with any treaties, they have to be ratified by the Senate. If a treaty is ratified by the Senate, it becomes part of the supreme law of the land. The president and other elected and appointed officials are under oath required to follow the law of the land. The State Department, Secretary of State are part of his cabinet and are essentially advisors to the president. He's the boss. So what he does relative to Biden is simply what is allowed and mandated by the Constitution, specifically Article 1, Section 8, that says the president is charged with, quote, enforcing the law of nations. We have an Interpol treaty with various European states and also one specifically with the Ukraine that requires that we basically investigate, apprehend, prosecute, extradite criminal elements and criminality. Mm-hmm. So Biden out of his own mouth, and I've heard this tape twice, January this year, he says, well, 2019, he says, I guess I broke some laws, extortion. I told the Ukrainians if they didn't get rid of this
the prosecutor's
name is Skola,
I think. Anti-corruption prosecutor.
Yeah, he said if you don't get rid of him, we'd withhold $85 billion in loan guarantees. So his son, who had just been discharged for the military for being a junkie, had a drug problem, had no history in business. He affiliates with this, and at the time, Biden was in charge of the U.S.'s Ukrainian posture and relations. Obama had assigned him that. And by implication, he brought Obama into committing a crime in office, which is a felony. It's extortion. He committed one, extortion, by out of his own mouth, threatening to withhold $85 billion in loan guarantees if they didn't get rid of this prosecutor who was zeroing in on that corporation that his son had just been hired to represent after Biden Sr. had been assigned by the president the task of dealing with Ukrainian diplomacy.
Okay. So that's the whole story, people. You know, we're going to bring you the facts. Now, while Biden, when he was 51 years old, said that there are super predators. It doesn't matter how they came up, whatever. They are a detriment to the people. We're going to put them in jail. His son was just like that, and they did not do anything but give him a cush job over in the Ukraine. That's why we were talking about earlier. So you need to go research. You got to go research this stuff. That's why we said that Obama might be taking the perp walk, and we chuckled at that because he is not American black. And so take the perp walk, please. Take the perp walk. Take the perp walk, because you had nothing but negative stuff to say about American black men and what they should do, but you never stepped up and did anything about doing something to help us in the first place, because you didn't come from the lineage, and neither does Kamala, for those who are Coons, who love just the imagery. And she is so, in my opinion, ugly. She is ugly. Did you see her up there trying to go against the candidate for the Supreme Court, nominee for the Supreme Court? She didn't have anything for her, so she went and started doing a campaign speech before she asked her a few questions. You start to see, old girl that's running, she is Jane Q. Crow Esquire. They got that stuff down. But guess what? Like Q said, we've been through it before, and when you know the history, we'll get through it again. She's good, and she knew she didn't have anything for her. It's a damn shame. It's just one big lie. Our opinion, our observations. You need to go do the research. For all of those who early voted out of fear, and you were about the party line and not about American black, you are, in our opinion, a coon. You are a coon, unfortunate. Everyone who is afraid, who thinks that Trump is going to do something, and you haven't even read and seen what he has done for American black people yet. You haven't even read and saw what anti-American black things Biden did over his years in the Senate. Huh? So, people, we have gotten through everything that we need to get through. It's 7:45. You got 3:20 close out. Here we go.
You know, as it was being described, what type of person Donald Trump was as far as his liking of people or not liking of people, that is characteristic of a successful business person, that they're able to be cordial where they need to be cordial. They're able to be what they need to be when they need to be it to get the job done, but they're not particularly attached to any group of people, not even their own race of people. That's very characteristic of a successful business person, someone being successful in any arena. You pretty much got to be detached to a point. You have to be empathetic, being able to be touched with the climate of the people without being attached to the people. If you're called to lead, you can't be attached to people who don't know. You're called to lead because you have the know-how to lead. That's in any arena. So the leader is not looking for necessarily approval from the followers, because you're still a follower. You don't know what it takes to lead. So the leader often is not liked because they have to be indifferent to the many voices that's trying to speak to them. And most leaders are being led from within, right? Oh, I know y'all don't want to hear that one. Most leaders are being led from within. So they don't have time to listen to somebody who has not even gotten there for their own personal lives yet. Nobody's listening to you. Just fall in line and be quiet. Now, for those of you who early voted and ran and you know y'all pulled the jelly back on us, you know, you what you do is don't have nothing to say. Just be quiet. Now, we don't want you to jump ship when you find out the truth either. Don't jump ship and then come back and come over to the way that seems more favorable for those of us who stood for what we stood for. You just stay right where you at. We don't need no ship jumpers. We don't need that. Your character is already demonstrated to be jelly. We don't want it. Just stay where you're at. We love you, but we're going to love you from a distance. All right? But, you know, we have shared information. Now we are at 74 hours of information. This is 2 hours. Every time we hit a 1-2, that's why we need 2 hours. It's a 1-2 punch. 2 hours every show. So it's 74 hours. This is getting into you going into a master's degree program, listening to this. And you need to go. You need to get it. You need to get it. But still, don't jump ship, though. Get it and straighten yourself out. You just stay on that side, though. Stay on that side.
Look here. Tracy Latrice says that Ice Cube was kicking facts 100. Heart. Yeah, that's right. Listen, people. It's also indicative of a Gemini personality. You never know how often Geminis put out and work with people, and people take that for granted. And then when they take it for granted and the Gemini realizes it, it's off with your head. It's like lobbing heads off. That's the way it is. So when he first got in, he had all these great ideas, infrastructure, etc., etc. What did Nancy Pelosi and the Democrats do? Because he wasn't their candidate, they wanted to make him an illegitimate president all the way through. You know, all the way throughout the board. They wanted to do that, right? And they went out to do this, and as a Gemini does, when you're coming at them, they're going to lob your head off. He's been lobbing heads off left and right, and I'm telling you, he's trying to get that big prize. He's trying to get the big prize for the corruption that happened during the election of them spying on them. They're trying to get the big prize. They want that big perp walk. They want that big perp walk. So when you're seeing these different people come across, Ice Cube is a Gemini, Kanye West is a Gemini, but you know what they all did? They've all done business. They've all had their own businesses, and they realize what the United States of America is a corporation. And everyone knows, if they would just tell the truth, that everybody was waiting for 2020 to come in. They knew that 2020 was going to be it, and it was going to go and lead in and move into things. Everybody was out there promoting, marketing, everything. Everybody was ready, and it wasn't just a fluke that the economy didn't come from Obama's economy. That ends the first 2 years in. Then it goes into the next person. Everybody was feeling good. Everybody can say that. True, if you liked them or not, you had to say that that's what we was going to. And then the China virus came about and it destroyed. That's what it is. You have to state facts. When you realize that CNN has a big deal with China for some kind of media park over there in China, and you know, China, the government deals is the corporations, and the corporations is the government. So they have to, so you see, they're going to talk negatively against the man that's putting China in check, because they have to, because there's billions of dollars on the line. But you going on here and keep listening to those Caucasians when you say Caucasians aren't to be trusted. I don't listen to Caucasians. I look at policy. I look at what's necessary to make American blacks take their rightful place in this country to move America along. So people, You have been watching another great episode of #ObservationsTFR by Crazy D, featuring my special guest host, my sister Tanya M. Congress. We love coming to you every day, Monday through Friday, 9:30 a.m. Pacific, 12:30 p.m. Eastern, and we will see you tomorrow with another great episode of #ObservationsTFR.
Here's the thing about Germany, why I made a curator's pick of the Hollywood Fringe Festival. Community, heart, heart, heart. Crazy.